All right, before starting the vehicle, you want to make sure that you give it the opportunity to warm up the glow plugs. You turn the key on to the on position and wait for all the lights, specifically this one, to make sure that it goes out prior to turning the key on. Then you can depress the clutch all the way down and start the vehicle. You have a pattern right here. That pattern tells you where your gears are and whether they're high or low range. The top numbers, the larger numbers, are your high range, which would be flipping this lever right here, located on the gear shifter. When you're in the low range, that lever would be down. When you're in the high range, the lever would be up. When we get to the part where I'm shifting again from the next light, I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about as far as high range and low range. You'll hear the noise of the gear changing from low to high range. Do keep in mind that it takes about 1.5 seconds for that change to happen. So you want to make sure to give it that opportunity. You want to put that high range in before you take it out of gear so that it has the entire travel time, because it will not change until it's in neutral. You want to give it the entire travel time to change into high gear before you reach the next gear that you're placing it in. Now back to the gear shift pattern. Again, we were talking the high range is the higher numbers, low range is the lower numbers. I also want to tell you that when you're shifting, one of the tips that we use, and this is just a GP tip, general purpose, it is not written in stone. But if you take the 2 digits of the gear position and add them together, it'll tell you what range, what speed you need to be at in high range. So if I want to go to 6th gear, I need to be at about 15. Basically 15 miles an hour. 1 and 5 is 6. So you would want 15 miles an hour. 2 and 5, 25 miles an hour is 7. So at 25 you want to go to 7. At 35 miles an hour, 3 and 5 is 8. You want to go to 8. At 45 miles an hour, 4 and 5 is 9. You want to go to 9. 55 miles an hour, 5 and 5 is 10. You want to go to 10. So that's your speed. Can you go in at a higher speed? Yes. Can you go in at a lower speed? Yes. Again, it is just a basic, easy to remember tool. All right, coming up on cars in front of me stopped at a red light. I'm going to slow down to speed with my brake. I said 8 is 3 and 5, right? 35 miles an hour. I'm going to shift to 8, rev my engine, and then clutch it into gear. This car's turning left. I do not scoot around, so I'm going to continue to slow down to 7. Shift, rev, clutch into gear. I can come to a stop in this gear, but I don't have to. I'm down to 15, so I'm going to grab 6 and continue on. Now you see also that every time I shift gears, my hand comes back to the steering wheel. Anytime on the test that you shift and leave your hand on the shift knob and shift again, you will get a point. You have to put your hand back on the steering wheel between every shift or you'll get a point. All right, light should be turning in a little bit. There it is. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in gear now. I don't have to put it in gear immediately. They always tell you in Smith's system, which is my favorite as far as defensive driving goes, that the Smith system, when you come up to an intersection and the light turns green, the person that takes off immediately is inviting the person coming from cross traffic that's running that red light to T-bone you. So when the light turns green, the time it takes you to put it in gear is the time it takes for that jerk to run the red light, and you weren't in his way. So there's no sense in being in that big of a hurry. It's getting close. I'm going to go ahead and put it in 3rd gear. I have all the way to the floor so that I can get it into 3rd gear. That's the clutch brake. Green light. I'm going to bring the clutch out. When it starts to go, I accelerate and then continue to release. Tap it out, tap it in. Tap it out, tap it in. Tap it out, tap it in. Selector up to go to high range. Tap it out, tap it in. That's all you have to do. There's nothing else. Tap it out of gear, tap it into gear. Tap it out of gear, tap it into gear. There's no stomping to it. You don't press it to the floor. If you have a tendency to clutch deep, set your seat so that to clutch all the way to the floor, you must extend your leg out far and stretch straight. That will avoid you doing it as a natural maneuver. If you're so close that you tend to push in the clutch too far, back your seat off. Get further away from that clutch pedal. So I have it right now in gear. I'm gonna go with third gear. The selector's down. My foot's on the floor at clutch brake. I'm gonna let the clutch out to where I can feel the vehicle tugging. And I'm gonna let off and start accelerating. Letting out on the clutch as I accelerate. Now, tap out, tap in. Tap out, tap in. Tap out, tap in. Selector up, tap out, tap in. And my foot is not going lower than the level of the brake. Tap out, tap in. Tap out, tap in. That's simple. The downshift is the same thing as the upshift, with the exception of the fact that you throw one stomp of the accelerator to build the RPM up. The RPM has to be higher than that point you want it to be when you hit the gear. Kind of like throwing a baseball up and hitting it. You throw the baseball up higher than you have to and hit it as it's coming down. Same thing. So I'm going to tap out, rev, and then tap it in. Now the other thing to think about is these trucks, when we keep talking about RPMs and listening to the engine and everything else, these trucks are designed to haul 40,000 pounds. So if you're shifting, and you'll learn this over time, if you're shifting, you don't always have to shift at a higher RPM. If you're empty, you can shift at a much lower RPM, and it's actually easier to shift at it. And there's less grinding. So for all the time that you're here at Great Lakes, you're practicing, learning, shift at a lower RPM. When you're testing, shift at a lower RPM. Less grinding, less chance of missing the gear. And if you do grind, it's plain and simple. Whether you're going up in gears or down in gears, if you cannot get it in the gear you're going for, go to the next higher gear. It's that easy. If I'm going to grind trying to get it into fifth, I'm not going to continue to try to grind it because I'm losing speed. I'm going to go ahead, grind, and say, well, I didn't get it into fifth, so what? Let's put it in sixth. And it'll fall right into sixth because you're going in at a lower RPM. Which again goes back to the point where if you shift at a lower RPM, it's easier to fall into it. Now we're coming up to a red light, so I'm going to go ahead and start slowing down. Again, I'm using my brake. I'm going to take it all the way down to 7th gear. I don't need to downshift every single gear. I can ride 7th gear all the way up to a stop. If you hear the engine, it'll start rumbling. As it rumbles, I push in the clutch, and you notice that I only rolled about 20-25 feet. You can roll the length of a vehicle and still not fail. Now that I've stopped, I can turn my selector to low and I can find my gear. I'm in no hurry to find my gear. You notice I can see the tires of the vehicle in front of me as well as a little bit of pavement. That's your good stopping distance. It allows you an out. In the event that vehicle breaks down in front of me, I can't back up in this traffic. I got to be able to turn around that vehicle. Having the space where the tires and a little bit of pavement allows me the opportunity to turn around a broken down vehicle. Now that light's been green for as long as I have seen it, so I'm going to take it with caution. I'm ready to stop in the event that I have to, and there it is. Brake first. I can take this all the way to 35 miles an hour, go to 8th gear, and run 8th gear all the way up to the stop. There's that rumble, clutch in, take it out of gear, relax. Now, about the clutch, there's 2 positions on the clutch, clutch brake, and then halfway down, which is just applying the clutch. please understand that I'm sure you've learned this in class as well, but please understand the clutch brake is only utilized from a standstill. Any other time than that, you're just tapping the clutch. You're only taking the clutch down as far as the brake pedal. That's a tap. You tap it out of gear, tap it into gear. That's it. Tap it out, tap it in. Ohio is a one-stop state. In a one-stop state in Ohio, your first stopping point, if there is a stop bar, you must stop at the stop bar. If there is no stop bar, then you must stop at the crosswalk if there is one. If there is no stop bar or crosswalk, then you have to stop at the earliest point of visibility. Being a one-stop state, you want to take it all the way to the stop bar to give yourself the best opportunity to see traffic. Now, I'm in 8th gear. I can take this without downshifting at all. There's my stop bar. I'm going to come up to it as close as I can without going over. Okay, when turning onto a busy road, obviously you're going to be looking in both ways. Know that the truck needs to utilize both lanes in this turn, so you're going to want to make sure that both lanes are clear all the way up. We could be sitting here for a while. We're ready. I got a brake and we're taking it. No, we're not. That truck's barreling. Now, the first thing to think about when you're making a turn is that you take all your available space in as little as somebody else's as you can. So when we take off, we're going to maintain straight until we have to turn to avoid going off the pavement on the other side, or if there were a curb, to avoid hitting that curb. Then we're going to turn the wheel and we're going to watch our trailer tires in the mirrors on the right-hand side to make sure that they clear the corner. And then we're going to sweep back into our lane as quickly as possible and get out of the opposing traffic's lane. Again, we want to take all of our available space, but as little of somebody else's. And here we're about ready to go. You don't shift when you're turning. You can shift right here if you wanted to. Now we turn, we maintain our light. We're checking both mirrors. We're watching behind us and in front of us. Now we're going to whip back into our lane and straighten it out and then shift. Now I'm coming up to a turn. I know this turn, so I know what I have to do. If I had a GPS that told me I'm turning right in 500 feet, then I already need to start making up my mind. I'd like to go ahead and put it in 9th gear. I'm going to tell at this turn right here that I'd probably like to go to 6. So I'm going to go 9, 7, 6. I'm going to turn my signal on because I'm hitting my brakes. I want people to know what's going on. Take it down to 7, which is about 25. Place it in 7th gear. Slow it down a little bit more to 15. Place it into 6th. And then I'm going to make the turn. You notice that I'm hugging the outside edge of every turn to allow my trailers not to cross the white line or run over the curb. Always hug the outside edge of the turn. Now we're making a rolling right turn here, so we need to have the proper speed. I'm going to take this all the way down to 7th gear, and then I'm going to drop my selector down. I want 5th gear for this turn. That's my gear of choice. Straight, I never turned. Now it's hand over hand. I'm watching, I'm taking this lane, I've already cleared it. Now I'm watching my trailer and coming back to my lane as soon as humanly possible. Once I've straightened my wheel, I'm allowed to shift again. Now we're going to make another right turn up here at this intersection. I'm going to go one more gear just to give me some time to come down in gears. All right, I want to hug this yellow line out here. I want to give myself as much space as possible. This is a tight turn. We're going to need a lot of space. I'm going to turn my right turn signal on to give my intentions to the people behind me. Now I'm coming close to the intersection. I'm going to slow this down to 5th gear. Again, my gear of choice. I'm going to bring the selector down, and I'm going to take this out, rev, put it into 5th gear, which is my nemesis. I'm watching, I'm turning, I'm watching my trailer, and I'm bringing it back as soon as I can. You saw how I kept the wheel straight all the way until I had to make the turn. I don't need to turn the wheel early. All I'm doing when I turn the wheel early is I'm inviting myself to come back to that curb and hit it with my trailer. One of the auto fails of the road is to hit a curb with your trailer tires. So to avoid that, make sure that you stay straight until you have to turn. No shifting while you're turning, both hands on the wheel all the way through the turn. I'm turning on my signal for intentions now because I'm going to be turning into a turn lane. I'm going to go ahead and start slowing down because I need to go from 9, I want to go 9.75, that's what I want. So I'm going to get over here, get it down to 25 miles an hour, place it in 7th gear. Hug the outside edge. I don't want to go too slow. I'm going to wait till I get up here. Put my selector down. I'm going to slow down. Tap out, rev, tap in. Now, you see that guy's over the crossbar. I'm going to make this turn as safely as possible. That's the information I'm going to tell the instructor, the examiner, that I'm going to make the turn as safely as possible. This was a truck-friendly turn, so you see I made it, but I was about 1.5 feet, 2 feet off that curb. But like I said, letting the examiner know that car is across the stop bar and is impeding me making a proper turn, I will make it as safe as possible. You don't have to say that verbatim, that's a long phrase. But the point is you let them know. All right, communication is the most important thing. They're there to know that you know how to drive safely. By mentioning that statement, you're telling them, I know how to drive safely, but I'm not going to stop in the middle of the intersection and wait or try to antagonize this man, try to bully him into backing up. I'm just going to go ahead and make the turn. Another auto fail, we were talking about auto fails, another auto fail would be to intimidate that vehicle by pulling up in front of them and forcing them to back up. That's considered intimidation. And you are not allowed to do that on a test, it's an auto fail. So that light's getting ready to turn green, I believe. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in 3rd gear. And I'm watching for the traffic. Now again, I don't have to put it in 3rd gear. When that light turns green, the time it would take me to get into 3rd gear, I can make sure that everybody's cleared the lane. In this instance, I'm just going to take my time, and that way I do clear it. I'm going to do one shift before I make the turn. Hand over hand, watching my trailer tires, and I'm going to come all the way back to my lane. I did not turn until I got to that point where I had to. What's the best way to tell what point to turn in is your trailer tires. If you're looking at your trailer tires, you'll notice when you're coming up on a curb, the curb is straight and then it curves and then gets straight again. When your trailer tires are next to the end of the straight part, right before the curve, that's when you can turn. Because when you make that turn, the trailer's turning, it's going to be right where that curve is. Now the idea is, how gradual is the curve? You've got to turn to match the curve if you're going to do that. So on a truck-friendly turn, you would make a more gradual turn and sweep your tires along the curb. Whereas if it was a tight one, you would take it straight out as far as you can and come back tight along with the curb. But the only true indicator to tell you where to turn is your rear tires. But right here you see the white line where it starts to curve. That's the point where I would turn. Again, I've got to wait, I've got to watch where the people are. I can't go that far because I'll run out of road. But I was almost there. Now I'm going to go ahead and hug this side and see I'm running right along that white line. If that guy wasn't there, I would have taken just a nibble out of his lane. Just a little, just enough to keep me off that white line. Alright, when making a left turn, you have to understand left lane to left lane, so we cannot go from this lane to the outside lane around the corner. We have to go to the inside lane, left lane to left lane. This, from in front of me all the way over to them stop bars, that's all my real estate. I don't need all of it, but I plan on using what I need. I'm not giving away all that real estate. So I'm going to stay straight until I'm ready to make my turn. I'm going to take it all the way out and come back into my lane, because it's left lane to left lane. Once I'm in this lane, shift once, then cancel my signal. Now I want to get that right lane as soon as I can, so I'm going to turn my signal on to let my intentions be known. Then I'm going to grab that lane. Once I am fully into that lane, I will check my mirrors, then cancel my turn signal. During the lane change, I'm also not shifting. That is considered turning. Your hands need to be on the wheel. The whole idea with a left turn is to make sure that you don't impede on anybody else's space. You own from here all the way up to that crosswalk. All of that space is yours. There's no reason to turn this wheel until you're all the way out there, so that you can make this turn without impeding on that traffic coming off of your left over here. So what I suggest you do is I suggest you go straight as far as you can and turn left. And I would aim for the center of that curb over there. If I'm looking at that curb over there right now, I see a drainage area. That's what I'm going to look at. That's what I want to aim for. So I'm going to stay straight. Now this is exaggerated, mind you, but there will be times when you'll need it. Now I'm going to aim at that. And then I'm going to come back and chase the curb, follow the curb, until I'm straight. Now again, that was exaggerated. I didn't need that much space, but if you were looking out this mirror, you'd see that I had a mile between me, figuratively speaking, and that yellow line for the traffic going in the other direction. I in no way impeded on that lane at all. So don't be afraid to take that truck out straight farther than you think you need to make the turn. You see the vehicle in front of me slowing down, so I want to make sure to keep that space, that cushion. I want to leave myself an out in case something happens in front of me. I'm in no hurry, and it's not going to save me much time to crawl up his butt anyways. Always plan for anything and everything you do. You don't like to react. Reacting makes you think about too many different things at once. If you plan and take most of the thought out of it, then concentrate on what's important at the intersection, traffic, you'll be a safer driver. I have somebody merging. I'm going to let off the pedal and let that person merge in front of me. I'm in no big hurry. And here comes another merging car. Now in the event that I wanted to, I could look to my left and see if I can move, but I had that white car right there, so I had to slow down anyways. I accelerate as the car in front of me accelerates, so that I keep that cushion, keep that space. I'm always looking at my mirrors. You should be looking at your mirrors approximately every 8 seconds. A lot of people don't like to show love to the right mirror. If you're one of those people, easiest thing to do, check your right first, then your left. That way you're showing equal love to your right mirror. Now, highway traffic. There's a lot of different things to think about when you're on the highway, and you want to give yourself, again, that reaction time. You want to be able to plan ahead. I have an off-ramp right here, so I'm assuming, and maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, that there's an on-ramp, and we can see while we're up on the bridge there is an on-ramp. Lo and behold, there's a car coming up the on-ramp. I'm going to look at my mirror to the left, I see I got traffic. I can't move over. I have time now to adjust my speed, slow down, speed up, do what I need to allow that car to get in. If there were no traffic to my left, I would move over and let the car in. Once he's in front of me, then I will go ahead and accelerate, keeping my distance. Find an object on the road here, and then count to 7 seconds. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006. All right, I didn't have my 7, but I do by now. So we'll wait till he's up on the bridge there, and we'll start counting. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007. I haven't reached the barrels yet, so I know I have a 7-second following distance. Now you can see what it looks like to have 7-second following distance at 60 miles an hour. Again, even while I'm out here, I'm still checking both mirrors. Why do I have to check the right mirror? You never know when you'll get one of those guys that just wants to pass you on the right on the shoulder because there's too much slow traffic on the left. always maintain a 360 view of your truck, checking both mirrors and ahead of you as much as you can. I like to take students through here because there are two crosswalks that are zebra striped, which means the pedestrian has the right of way. These crosswalks right here, the pedestrian only has the right of way with the lighting. But the zebra stripe means they have the right of way all the time. We crossed one previously and there's two more ahead of us. Not only do you have to watch for the pedestrians, but you also have to watch all of these cars, because if I'm on the other side of that pickup, I may not be able to see and I'll start backing out. So you have to watch, and he's got his tailgate open. That's just more things I got to watch for. So I'm watching for backup lights, and I'm watching this pedestrian crosswalk. I want to make sure no one comes into it. There's my backup lights, perfect. I'm watching my crosswalk and make sure that nobody's close to it or entering it so that I have to stop for them. Now I've got cars parked along my right, but I need that straight lane. I have to wait until I'm halfway past that vehicle and then turn into that lane so that I can proceed straight through. And then turn back, straighten myself out. All right, I have an emergency. I'm pulling off. I've checked both mirrors. I'm starting to slow down. My signal is on. I'm slowing as I pull off. I want to get down to 25 miles an hour. I'm going to go ahead now and drift off, taking my right side of the vehicle off of the road, and then I'm going to straighten my vehicle out, come to a stop. Take the vehicle out of gear, set my brakes, turn on my four-ways. Now my vehicle is secure. You do not have to say this at the test, but at this point, if I were here longer than 10 minutes, I would set my triangles out behind me at 10 feet, 100 feet, and 200 feet. In the test, they will merely ask you, is your vehicle secure? That's their way of saying that you've checked everything, your brakes are set, you're out of gear, your four-ways are on, and you have fixed whatever's wrong with the vehicle. Now you say yes, and they're going to say proceed. We're on a shoulder that's not wide enough for an entire vehicle. If it were wide enough for an entire vehicle, I would accelerate and get speed on the shoulder and merge into traffic. I'm on a shoulder that does not accommodate me. I do not want to accelerate with my tires off the pavement. So I have my left turn signal on, my four-ways off, and I'm watching for the traffic. As soon as that inside lane is clear, I'm going to own this lane. That takes a little while when you got this much traffic. But I'm not going to hesitate getting into that lane. I want to own it, make it mine. People can go around me. There's two lanes traveling in the same direction. So here we go. I go straight into that lane. Waste no time, get in it. Once I'm in the lane and I don't have to turn anymore, I turn on my four-ways. That is indicating to the people behind me that I'm not traveling at a safe speed yet. I continue to accelerate as quickly as I can, getting it up to at least 10 miles under the speed limit, at which time I'll turn my four-ways off. Four-ways off. Signal off. So, that is your EPO, emergency pull-off. So again, I have an emergency. Immediately, I'm going to turn on my right turn signal. I'm going to check both mirrors, have my foot off the accelerator. Once I've seen that it's clear, I'm going to go ahead and start pressing the brake. As I'm pulling over, I'm pressing the brake harder. When I get to the side of the road, before I drop off the pavement, I want to be down to 25 miles or under. Then I will drop the right side off the pavement to make sure that I get my entire vehicle across the white fog line. I want to be able to look out my left mirror and see pavement between the white fog line and my tractor trailer all the way down. If I don't see pavement and it looks like I'm touching that line, that's not good. You need to see that pavement between the line and the vehicle. And it's very important that you see it, because when they're looking over there, they have a different perspective, and it's gonna look closer to them than it does to you. Coming up to a railroad track, we're going to clear that track 3 times. We're going to clear it from a distance, looking in both directions. Then we're going to clear it right before we cross it, generally by the stop bar right here in both directions. Once the cab is across, I am checking both mirrors and watching until my tractor and trailer get all the way across the tracks. Once that happens, then I can shift again. In this instance, I don't have to. All right, the auto fails that you can have on the test: hitting the curb, stalling your vehicle, coasting your vehicle over the lane of the vehicle, impeding traffic, or a dangerous or unsafe act. An example of a dangerous or unsafe act would be if you're in a lane that looks wide enough for 2 vehicles to travel in it, yet there is no divider line down it. That is still a 1-lane road. And if somebody is on the left side of that lane and you decide that you want to pass them on the right, you will fail. It is not 2 lanes unless it has a line in it telling you that it is 2 lanes traveling in the same direction. Now, like I said, on the test, the most important thing is communication. Letting the examiner know that you understand that you have to be safe. But there are times that you're going to have to bend the rules that they give you that are safe, like crossing the yellow line. If I'm driving down this road, you see all the mailboxes here, there's a chance I might come up to a mail delivery guy. Am I going to follow him through every one of these mailboxes? If I have the opportunity to go across this line and pass him, I'm going to do it. But the examiner needs to know, I want to go around the mailman here, so I'm going to check this lane. There are no vehicles coming in either direction. I'm going to signal, cross the yellow line far enough to get around him, and then come back to my lane. Letting them know that and why you're doing it, and that you check that it's clear, are all things to communicate to an examiner to allow you to continue at your test without following a mailman all the way back. You never at any time cross a yellow line without a signal or without telling the examiner that you're going to do it and why. Maybe a bicyclist, a pedestrian, whatever it may be. Now, the one thing you have to keep in mind is that during the test, you're required to keep on the steering wheel. You see, I've got mine at 10 and 2, which actually isn't the accepted method anymore. It is 9 and 3 or 4 and 8. Okay? 9 and 3 is where most people will leave it. You notice I just leave my thumbs out. I don't grip the steering wheel. There's 2 ways that you cause tension when you're driving, when you're nervous. One of them is to clench your teeth, and the other is to clench your fist. By leaving my thumbs dangling, I am not allowing myself to get tense. I'm keeping myself relaxed. I'm clearing the intersection, left, right, again, left, right, and watching my trailer, left, right. You must clear your 4-way intersections and railroad tracks the same way all the time. During the test, you'll get 4 random intersections. They don't tell you which ones they are, they just grade you. So clear all the intersections the proper way, and I will tell you that on the test they are 4-way intersections. Clear your intersections the proper way every time, then you won't lose any points by not clearing the intersections on the ones that they randomly choose. On the test, they'll also be asking you as soon as you pass a sign what the sign is. So if you see a yellow sign, because generally it will be a yellow sign, if you see a yellow sign, pay attention to it. Remember what it is, because they're going to ask you. So for instance, we're coming up on a yellow sign here. I'm going to make sure I know what that yellow sign says. That way, as soon as I pass it, I hear them say, "What's that yellow sign?" And I can tell them that there's a fire station ahead. Now, everything that you're taking into consideration, all these things that you're learning that we direct you towards the test is made up to make sure that the drivers on the road are safe. So these aren't things that we're just telling you to do because of the test. It's things that you're going to carry on into your professional career as a driver to remain safe. Okay, see, I'm following the outside edge of the curve. Even though it's a slight curve, I'm still going to do it. Habits are easy to form if you do it every time. If you only do it when it's necessary, then you may forget and end up taking your trailer across the lane of traffic and rubbing a car. So just always, any curve, always stay to the outside edge. On any curve or any turn, stay to the outside edge. I'm going to do a lane change real quick here. I don't have a lot of traffic. As I do a lane change, I'm going to turn my signal on, check my mirrors, both mirrors. I'm going to go all the way to my lane, check my mirrors that I've gotten all the way into my lane. Once I've done that, turn my signal off. I'm going to turn my right turn signal on, check my mirrors. Then I'm going to make my complete lane change. All the way into the lane, check both mirrors again, then cancel my signal. I'm checking my on-ramp already, making sure nothing's coming down the on-ramp. Give me plenty of time to react. I've already looked in the mirror and know that I could go to the left right now if there was a vehicle coming down. Now, you cannot use your brakes on the test when you're leaving. You have to wait till you're on the off-ramp. So I'm letting off the accelerator. I have my signal on and I'm coasting over to that side. Then I will apply my brakes.